In this video, you'll be learning about subtracting integers. Um, and there's a little rule to it that's pretty simple that once you get it, you'll be able to just use it. And if you know how to add integers, then subtracting integers will be no problem. Remember, integers are positive and negative numbers and zero. Okay? So the rule is this. Keep, change, change. Keep, change, change, K, C, C. So if you have, let's take a problem here. Say we have a positive 5 minus a negative 2 equals, okay? And we could just let's make that a positive just so you see that we're not going to do anything to that one. So keep, change, change. You have this sign here, this positive will keep that positive. This one is negative. Let's change it to positive, or change it to a plus. So from minus to plus, and then we have to change this one also, okay? So now, after we did the change, we have a 5 plus a 2 equals 7. So, if I do 5 minus negative 2, it's going to be 7 because I followed the keep, change, change rule. I kept this one to be whatever it was. I changed this to the opposite, it'll always be subtracting because you only do this with subtraction. So this is always going to go from a subtraction to an addition, and then I changed the sign on that one. Okay, let's do another one. This time, let's have the negative number be first. So let's do a negative 5 minus a 2. And see what that gets me, okay? Now, remember the keep, change, change. So I keep this, keep that just like it is. I'm going to change that, and I'm going to change that. So this is negative 5. I'm going to keep that, negative 5. This minus is going to go to a plus, and I'm going to change this to a negative 2. Now, you just have to remember the addition rules because now we're adding it, okay? Remember with addition of positive and negatives, if it's the same sign, you just keep it and add. Keep and add. So we add these together. 5 plus 2 is 7. And keep the same sign, negative 7. So, negative 5 minus 2 is going to get me a negative 7. So with subtraction, first step, keep, change, change. Second step, follow adding rules. Okay, so we're going to practice, let's see, we'll have practiced some adding stuff today. Hopefully we're really solid with that adding of integers, adding of positives. We know that with adding, let's practice just the adding one more time. 5 plus 2 negative 3 plus negative 4. Both of these, it's adding. So add. When it's add, you do not do the KCC. You do not do this. This is only with subtracting. So we're just adding these. Okay, so I see that they both are positive on this one. With the same sign, you add them and keep that sign. 2 plus 5 is 7. I keep the positive, and that's all it is. I see this is a negative and a negative. I add the two values together. 3 plus 4 is 7, and I keep the same sign. So if it's the same sign, you do the addition and keep the sign. Same sign is the easiest. If it's the same sign, keep it and add them. Okay, now if it's a different sign, and this is for adding, minus 3 plus 2 equals, or 7 plus negative 3 equals. Okay, so these are different signs, Once they're different signs, you just take the absolute value and add them. Absolute value, add them, and take the sign of the bigger absolute value. Okay. Absolute value, add the absolute value. There's 1. So you add the absolute value, and then take, or we'll say use the sign of the bigger absolute. Oh, I should probably spell that right. Absolute value. Okay, so 2 steps. One is you take the absolute values and you add them. Oh, I'm sorry. That was wrong. Oh. I hope I'm not messing you up. It's tricky. When you're adding, the first step is subtract. That's the key when you have opposites. When you have a positive and a negative. Adding a positive and a negative, first step, they're opposites. Once you say, okay, they're opposites. Now, if they're the same, you add them and keep the sign. But if they're opposites, you have to subtract the absolute value. So the absolute value of this is 3, and this one is 2. 3 subtracting 2 is 1. And then I look at which one has the bigger absolute value. This one does. And so I keep that sign, so it's negative 1. Okay. On this one, this has an absolute value of 7. This has an absolute value of 3. 7 and 3. Okay, so now, because they're opposites, I subtract. 7 minus 3 is 4. And then I use the sign of the bigger absolute value. 7's bigger, so it's positive. So I just keep it just like that. Okay? Cool. This is the trickiest thing. Once you can remember this one, then when you go to subtract and you do the keep, change, if you can remember those adding rules, once you get to the subtraction, so I have negative 5 minus negative 2. On subtraction, it doesn't matter if they're the same signs. That's only with addition. Addition is same sign, add them, keep the same sign. But with subtraction, it's the keep, change. Now, I keep this, negative 5. I change that to plus, and I change that to 2. So now I have negative 5 plus 2. Then it's just like addition. So, they're opposites. Because they're opposites, I take the absolute value. Absolute value of this is 5. Absolute value of this is 2. I subtract those. It gives me 3. And then I take which absolute value is bigger? 5 is. So I take that sign, negative 3. So then I come up here. Negative 5 minus a negative 2 equals a negative 3. lots of steps. I had to start with this one problem. It's subtraction. Once I see subtraction, then I keep, change, change. So I kept, change, change, which got me to here. And now that it's addition, I went with the addition rules. And because they're opposites, I had to get my absolute value, and then I had to subtract that, and then take the sign of the larger absolute value. So it's a lot of steps, but once you practice this, once you get into this, once you understand it, it'll become secondhand. So keep, change, change. Always keep the first one, change that, change that. You get to addition. If it's the same sign, then you just add them and keep it. So for example, if on this one, say it would have been -5 minus 2. So it's a subtraction, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep, change, change. Keep that, change that, and change that. Now I have a negative plus a negative. When it's the same sign and you're adding, you just add them and keep the sign. 5 plus 2 is 7, and the same sign is 7. -7. So my -5 minus -2 is -7. No, -5 minus 2. Okay. Well, I hope you're able to think about these things. And tomorrow at school, we're going to practice a lot of subtraction of integers.